Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to be talking about 3 reasons that the hustle isn't all that it's been built up to be. Let me say that one more time. 3 reasons why the hustle isn't all that it's built up to be. Tongue twister, I know. If you don't know me, my name is Jen Wyatt and I'm a productivity coach. And I help women prioritize, simplify and organize all the things in their life, including their business or whatever that needs to be organized or simplified. I will jump in and I will help you get it all straightened out so you can feel super productive and super on top of who you are meant to be and the things you're meant to do. So in the past year or so, the popular phrase, the hustle, has come up in a lot of online trainings, programs, t-shirts. I've seen it in mugs. You could type hustle into search engine, you get all kinds of images that pop up. And I personally have always struggled with overworking, with getting things done at all costs and having very little left over at the end of the day. And I think that if you ask my mom, she would probably tell you that I was born like goal oriented. I literally would organize everything and make sure that things were just so, and that I had a plan of action and that I was working towards something that I felt was important. Whether or not it really was important, like having my dollhouse look a certain way, I was always decorating it, or you know, all the kinds of things that kids do. If I wanted to have a friend stay over, I would create a plan of how I could organize the house or get it cleaned up or help out. So I was more able to achieve that. And it's funny because my youngest does the same thing. And I have to chuckle every time he's like, well, if I help you do this, then can so-and-so come over? And I think it's a great way to kind of look at things that need to get done and have a goal and to be rewarded when you accomplish a goal. But back to what I was talking about is that I have felt in my life that I could always feel like at any point I could start running towards that goal that I wanted to do. And it used to be that I would push myself so hard and I would be running so hard towards that goal that I would completely forget about everything else in my life sometimes. Focus is my top strength and strength finders, but I know other achievers that do this too, that you just start running towards a goal and you forget, like everything else kind of becomes a blur because you're so focused on the goal, but that's not always a good thing. And I pushed and pushed myself so hard that I got to a point where I was like, okay, now what do I do? I am burnout, I am tired, I don't want to push myself anymore, I don't even want to think about having a goal because I've been doing this way all my life, and I wanted to be there for my kids, and I wanted to be in my life and live my life. And so I didn't really think about the consequences at the time when I was pushing myself so hard. And if you haven't gotten my download, I've just released a new download last week. It's a little workbook. It's 3 pages, and basically it'll work you through some of the things that I did to get myself off of that hamster wheel of working hard. There's nothing wrong with working hard, but it's that hustle, that push, that yes, life can be a beautiful mess, but I have showed 3 simple action steps or journaling exercises that I did personally to get myself out of that hamster wheel and on to living a life that was more me, that was more simple, that was more at an even pace instead of a push pace. And I get a lot of stuff done, like I still do. Even my son asked me the other day, we were going somewhere at 9 a.m. in the morning, and he was like, oh, did you get a lot done this morning? And I listed off like 12 things that I accomplished because I knew what I needed to do, and I was so focused in a short period of time that I was able to accomplish what would have taken me a whole entire day before, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about, I implement that. It's how I live my life. And I can hustle for a couple of hours, but hustle shouldn't be a way of life, right? So, from somebody who's hustled, sprinted, leaped, and everything in between, I wanted to talk about 3 different ways that we can work with a purpose without being self-destructive. Can we agree that pushing ourselves and pushing ourselves and pushing ourselves there's a time and a place where we need to push hard, but it shouldn't be a lifestyle that we live all the time. So number one, hustling causes imbalance. Sometimes I have to take a step back to take a step forward. I find that a lot in coaching, because when I'm working with my coach and she's like, okay, let's go back to here. And I'm like, nope, we just went through that. Like, I'm done with that. And she's like, nope, we need to take a step back. So sometimes taking a step back before we can even go forward is so important, because when we take a step back, we're able to see the bigger picture and make room, and it'll make room in our life for adding a healthy lifestyle and having stamina. Because when we take a step back, often we take a deep breath and we kind of survey and we go, okay, this is what needs to happen now. I pushed. Now I'm taking a step back, and now I can move forward. Because we can't be everything to everyone. We can't do it all. We can't have it all. But we can have a life that we love, and it's completely different than having everything that we want, right? Having a life that we love is something that's so connected to what we're supposed to be doing with our life. And I know that sounds really ominous, and I say that a lot, and I think, oh my gosh, they're gonna think I'm like ahead of the clouds. But I believe that everybody has a purpose, and everybody has a reason for being, and has something that they're supposed to do, something they're supposed to share with the world. And I love to activate that piece. I love to dig in with people and to kind of uncover that. But if we're pushing ourselves too hard and trying to reach all the goals, sometimes we miss that piece. We're too much living in the push and the hustle. So number two is we can't quite hustle as fast as when we can't quite hustle as fast as we like, we're super hard on ourselves. I know that I am. When I have this like major push goal, or even like when I'm trying to do a lot of things, and especially before I learned some of the concepts that I coach now, I would be like, oh my gosh, I got 20 things done but not 25. How can I be so lazy? Like, and that sounds ridiculous, but maybe to some of you it doesn't sound ridiculous. Maybe you do talk to yourself that way. I know that I definitely did, because I wanted so much to achieve that, that when at the end of the day, if I had fallen short of reaching that mark, then I was like, oh, forget it. I'm terrible. I can't do this. Because hustle has us believing that we're anxious all the time, when we're really just feeling the pressure of not being enough. Like, it can feel like such stress and anxiousness, when really that pressure is coming from us. And taking our time to work through things, and to take rest, and to not push, gives us the strength to stick things out. Like next week, actually next Monday, I'm doing a webinar, and I'm going to be talking about kind of this program that I'm going to be releasing the following week. But the crux of it is, and I talk a lot about consistency, because I hear a lot of clients say that they want consistency. I hear it a lot on social media. I'd like to be more consistent. I'd like to show up for this way, and I don't feel like I can move the dial in consistency. And I'm going to be talking about that in this webinar, because I think that really consistency and taking the time to like walk things out, and taking rest, and having strength for longevity, as opposed to, it's like a marathon versus a sprint, right? I mean, we could sprint for a short period of time, but then we have to wait until we can sprint again. And there's some people that work fantastic that way, but again, you have to know that there's a lot of rest, that when you work at a high-powered sprint, there's a lot of rest that has to happen on the back end in order to recoup, to regain your strength. And when you work at a marathon, again, there's a rest and building up that has to happen, but it's a much slower pace. It's a much more planned out and longer term. But it gives us that strength to stick things out in the long run. And this practice will help us develop patience, again, in the goal we're working on, instead of expecting a certain outcome in our own timing. Because sometimes I don't know if this has happened to you, but you start out with one big goal and you're like, this is the way I want to do it. But as you start working through, as you start sticking to it, like you'll notice that, well, this isn't working out so well, or maybe I should try this way. And sometimes we do need blinders on because we can get shiny object syndrome. But sometimes we have to be real and say, all right, this isn't really working out for me. And we can only figure that out by stopping and taking a look and stepping back. Because if we're in the pressure of it and we're feeling like, if I don't do it perfectly this way, then I'm not going to get this result. It often isn't like that. That's just a pressure that we put on ourselves. Number 3 is that managing our time fosters character. And this sounds crazy and maybe not. It's something I personally talk about a lot, because our personal goals and our work is purpose driven, and it will shift when we do that, when we tie everything to our purpose, and we recognize that everything that we do is driven by a deep felt why. And again, I'm sounding really like woo. So let me just dial it down. Let me break it down a little bit, because when we do something that we care about, that means something to us, our to-do lists become less like we have to do this and more about what we're meant to do. I hope that makes sense. So when we're doing something that we care about, when we feel that it's important, when it's something that gets us excited about getting out of bed. Like I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, oh yeah, I totally love to do this. I don't even think about it. I don't even care if I get paid. That's the kind of feeling that we should all have about our work. And yeah, it's important to get paid. It's important to make money and to have stuff that we need to live. But it's equally important to be able to get out of bed and say, yes, this is what I want to do today. I get to do this today. It's not, I have to do this today. So to wrap things up, I just want to go over the 3 points again, and why personally I think that hustling isn't really what it's built up to be. I think that hustling is important in short sprints if they're planned out and they're timed right. Because number 1, I believe that hustling causes imbalance. Number 2, I think that if we don't hustle as fast as we think we should be, then we're really, really hard on ourselves. And 3, managing our time fosters character. It builds patience, it builds good habits, it builds a lifetime of all those things that we read about that great leaders and great achievers have. And it ties everything to what we want to do. It makes it a meant to do, get to do, as opposed to a have to do. And remember that working hard is a trait. It's not an identity. For a long time, hard work to me was like, I'm a hard worker. And so it was what I built my identity on, and it's not who I am, but it's a character trait. And believe me, in a world where people feel unloved and uncared for, it's easy to put faith in what we can do, what is at our hand. Yes, I can accomplish this, and I can be amazing at this. And it's so easy to fall into that area of this is what I am instead of this is what I do. But please take a moment to like step back and take a walk or listen to a friend or take a nap. Identify what you need in your life and what you want your life to look like, and then start walking it out at your own pace. Remember, it's your life. There's no rules. There's no hard fast. You have to do this. I mean, there's certain things that if we have a job and we don't show up when we're supposed to and do the work we're supposed to, of course, you're going to lose your job. But if you don't want to go to that job, think about why you don't want to go to that job, because maybe it's not tied to what you're meant to do, and find something that you were meant to do, and then you'll want to get to that job. You'll want to. It doesn't become work. It becomes part of your lifestyle. It becomes part of what you are meant to do in that time. So anyways, I'm super excited. I could talk about this all day. But just to wrap things up, I put a link in the description of that mini workbook that I created, Take Back Your Time. Again, it's just 3 pages and it's completely free. And I put that in the description of the live post. And just know that these action steps are things that have helped me, and I believe that they can help you. And I will look forward to talking to you later this week. Bye. Have a great and productive day.